Welcome to Shitz and Giggles. I'm Robin, and we are here with author Rich. Can you pronounce your last name, sir?
Feitelberg,
I don't. I'm glad to have you.
glad to be here.
Awesome. Jack was supposed to come, but always late and a dollar short.
He got a better offer.
Yeah, he might have.
He might have gotten a better offer. Yeah, well,
Yeah, you know how long it takes to buy a car now. You know these
No,
days.
I haven't bought a car for a good 10 years, and I really don't want to because the price is through the roof. And the news report I saw the other day was it's full of all this technology that I don't really want to even to have to face.
Hmm.
Because if the car is going to be smarter than I am, I draw the line. When the technology starts to be smarter than I am, it's time we've gone too far. I say that
I
because I'm
agree.
a big fan of science fiction and I know these things.
The only high tech I want is a heated seat. That's all I want.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's not so bad. I have those in one of my cars. Um, I haven't really used them much because I don't really like to go anywhere in the wintertime, but I understand the need.
There have been times I've sat in my car for like 20 minutes because the heated seats feel so good.
It's like a warm blanket. Yeah,
Old age.
I do. There are days when when I'm lying in bed and I'm warm and toasty and I'm going, I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up, and then I realize, oh, I gotta get up.
Mm,
Yesterday was one of those days I had to put the trash out. It was trash day.
I
Yeah,
agree. There are days I don't want to get out.
yeah.
So
Um,
what genres do you write?
a bunch. I
Mhm.
have fantasy novels and some short stories in that genre. Also have short stories that are in science fiction. Um, uh, I started a science fiction novel, but I haven't finished it yet because the fantasy stuff kept calling me back. So I also have some fantasy romance that I recently I released my first one of those last year because romantasy is supposed to be really big, and I wanted to see if I could, do it. And I did. And then well, as soon as I was done with that one, I realized, oh, I have more ideas here. And so I'm now working on the second one. And the first one sold a few copies. So I said, all right, okay, fine. Um, that's harder to do as opposed to some of the fantasy stuff, which just seems to just pour out of me. Um, I have a bunch of stories that I call bizarre, sort of Twilight Zone kind of, O. Henry kind of things with a twist. Um, I have a collection of short stories that is also suspense thriller, Halloween themed things. And I'm a big fan of fairy tales, and so I have a collection of fairies and fables, um, things more for children or for a lower age range. I don't really have children's stories per se, at least not a lot of them, but I'm trying to get into that space because the people who are buying for children are always looking for good stuff, and it's sometimes hard to find. So, and then I also have a novella that's superhero themed because I'm a big comic book person. I was raised on comic books as a kid, so probably what got me writing. Um, and I have a novella. I wrote a second. Um, Still waiting to see where that's going, and waiting for that to take off a little bit. So I'm all over the place. I'm sure there's more stuff in there. I have some nonfiction too because I've spent years writing nonfiction in the form of software instructions for different computer applications. So knowing how to write nonfiction is right into me pretty much. So I have a bunch of I have a chronology about comic book superheroes. That's all nonfiction, and then some writer guides for people who want to get started because I get these questions all the time when I attend different events. But how to get started? How did you get started? And I'm tired of really answering some of those questions. I want to be able to say the answers are right here and point them to my books because they're going to need it. There's a lot of stuff I've learned in the process of um, getting where I am over 15 years now, I think, or more, that I didn't know that I wish I had when I started. So I said, nah, let's break that cycle for everybody, please, shall we? Not that I'm the only one who does this, clearly. I have a friend who has done something similar. I'm not telling people, and I've read books from well-known writers who, do something like that. They sort of give their story and they give you advice about how to write. I'm not trying to give you advice on how to write because there are a ton of books like that. But there are things you should know before you get started because it's a business and nobody ever talks about the fact that it's a business.
Exactly.
You're right. I didn't hear word one about that in school or anything. So of course I never took business courses. And I really wish I had at least a couple.
Hmm.
Give me something to draw to fall back on. Now I've sort of had to learn as I go. Um, so so I'm all over the place. And like I said, I'm sure there's more stuff. I just don't know what it is yet. Who knows? I may actually come up with some children's books. It's not beyond the realm of possibilities. If I really focus and say, okay, I'm just gonna write children's stories until I have a collection. Um, that I suspect that would be really hard though. So maybe I won't do that either. We'll see. I have no idea.
Is there a genre that you refuse to write?
Oh, I can't write mysteries. I
Okay.
absolutely cannot write mysteries. I have a mystery. This is a true story. My senior year in college, um, um, which was creative writing for fiction, we did a bunch of short pieces, right? You do a bunch of short pieces, and you work up to. And the book that we had for the course is really good. I still have it, and sometimes I, go back to it for different things to remind myself of what was that point in that I learned back. What was that again? Because that was a long time ago, and the memory's not as sharp as it used to be. Um, but one of the last things I had to do was a complete story, and I found it recently as I was digging through stuff looking for ideas. Um, and I pulled it out and I said, okay, let's see how good this is. And I was reading it, and it's a mystery. And I'm going, okay, I know I didn't do anything with this. This is awful. And I've been trying to fix it with my skills being much better than they were when I wrote this I'm going to say early 80s. It was like 82, I think, or 83, something like that. So it's been a number of years. I've got way better skills now than I had then, clearly, because I've done a way more writing since then. I'm going, okay, great. Let's see if I can fix it. And I've only gotten halfway through about typing it up, and I now another thing, disclaimer here. When I wrote it, I had to use a typewriter to type it up because that's all I had at the time. This is before personal computing became what we know it as. So
Yep.
one of the things I'm doing, of course, is I'm typing it out. I'm typing it into my machine so that it can get out all the benefits of modern technology. We're wonderful. But I've only gotten halfway through, and I said, I'm not in a mindset where I can really focus on this to really fix it the way it probably needs to be fixed. So, okay, so that's one. And I don't read romance novels, and I really have been probably an outspoken person to people of making fun of people who do. I have a friend who does. She loves Jane Austen. I'm going fine. Stick to your Jane Austen. That's fine. Okay, great. Um, but I said you won't catch me. Do Yet now I've actually broached that genre. So you never know
Hmm.
because not that I know that I've written it the way romance fans would particularly care for it. I don't know that the romance is really as central as it needs to be, for example. But it's more front and center than just having it as part of a plot of a bigger story, which is what my fantasy series. You'll find in my fantasy. There's a clear difference. Okay, and I see that one is okay. It's just part of all the events that are going on, but the real story is the main plot, which has really nothing to do with the romance, or the romance is the plot, and what happens to the lovers, and will they manage to survive whatever they're going through and get together. I got that. Okay. Um, which makes me think more of soap opera, which is why you know um, that's probably hugely popular on television. Um, it's the same kind of thing, and I'm going, yeah, soap opera is not my thing. Um, And yet, have found is as I write my second entry into that genre, um, yeah, it tends to be, I'm writing um, one of the two um, main characters was badly hurt, and his her no excuse me, her companion. Um, I mean, because we're talking, this is a fantasy thing. It's not. There's no real marriage as we as humans would understand. Okay, but they're mated. So I probably should say her mate goes and does what he has to do to make sure she gets whatever medicine she needs, so that maybe she will get better and not die on him. And when she finally comes out of her coma, oh, it's very. I was just writing that scene. It's like, oh my God, I'm starting to cry as I'm writing this stuff because I'm feeling all the emotions. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think you can help it. It's like because I put off reaching that scene for many thousands of words while I, flesh out the story and get you to get because one of my problems with that story was this is supposed to be a novel. Oh, I don't have nearly enough content yet. I need more stuff. I need to go do more stuff over here. It's one of those problems that writers have sometimes. Um, and then I said, so I finally got to the scene where she gets better, or she wakes up, and oh my God, and I'm going, yeah, I had the same problem in my fantasy series when the good guys get hurt, and then they come out of it, and you can see that good finally triumph. I get choked up because I guess I'm a softie at heart. Um, yeah, I want the good guys to win
Oh,
because
of course.
there's so much evil in the world, and it seems like it usually gets the upper hand, and you're reading my stuff for escape anyway. So the good guys better win. Although some people don't like that stuff. I know people who told me that in a fantasy romance the good guys don't have to win necessarily. Necessarily, I don't think he wanted. I think his concern was don't make it sappy. I'm going no. None of my stuff will ever be sappy
Hmm.
ever. Sorry, no, it will never. That will never happen. But um, that doesn't mean the good guys can't win. So
And that's what it is to write stuff is to, escape. So, everybody has their own opinion and everybody, you know,
right,
this, I like this, I don't like that, just
right. Well, it's all subjective, and that's why I keep telling people, you know, um, I've been saying this a lot recently. Not every book is meant for every reader.
mhm.
Um, I firmly believe that, and that's why a lot of people, when I do events, they walk by my table because they have no interest in anything I'm I'm offering, and I'm going, well, that's their right. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to read me. I'd
Mhm.
like if you did. I would appreciate that as a local author, as a basically a sole proprietor of a very small business as it were. Um, but if you don't like it, okay, fine. I got I released one of my fantasy novels that I released last year. I found two reviews of it on Goodreads recently. One person loved it, gave me 5 stars, couldn't say enough nice things about it. And another person gave me 3 stars and basically said, I'm not really into fantasy. This really wasn't for me. It's not a bad story, but it didn't really float my boat. Okay, which is fine.
Mhm.
I mean, she didn't pan it. She said it was okay.
Yeah.
She gave me 3 stars, which is probably about the most you could probably given that she didn't like the genre. And the reason she bought the book was that she loved the cover. I get a lot with that
Ah,
book.
okay.
I get a
Yeah.
lot with that book because the cover is gorgeous. My wife made it. Um,
Oh.
because she's a graphic artist, and I was thinking about self-publishing it when I finished it, and so we were talking about different covers, and so she made something. Then I gave it to my publisher, who had my fantasy series, and they liked it. And then when they couldn't come up with a good cover, I said, I'm looking for more like this, and I showed her my wife's cover, and they said, can we use that? And asked her, and she said yes, and then I said yes, and there it is. And so, in the last event I did, one of the writers that I'm in a writing group with finally broke down and said, I just can't look at this cover without owning it. And so she bought a copy.
There you go. There you
I'm
go.
going, yeah, well, okay, I hope she reads it. because she writes fantasy stuff too, and I'm going, I really would like to her opinion.
Hmm.
Um, but if not, okay, that's fine too. I got the sale. That's I can't quibble about getting a sale from her. But I did promise to buy one of her books in exchange because that's only fair.
Yeah.
Next week sometime. I'm finally going to crack open my wallet again and buy some books.
I do that every dang day. Oh,
No, I can't. I have too many, so I have to be on a short leash. So, because
that's what my husband said.
this place already kind of looks like a library.
I have a studio I turned into a library, with all the books signed from the authors and some other ones that I just
Hmm.
bought. And now that I have grandchildren, it's turning into my grandson's bedroom, and I have boxes and boxes and boxes of books.
It's occupational hazard of the reader.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But like when
I'm sure our
I,
work vices, so I'm not really. And I come from a long line of avid readers. Apparently, my mother was one. My grandmother used to read. Was a fan of Reader's Digest back in that in the day.
oh yeah,
That's her speed. Um, um, Not so much on my father's side. I don't think, but he was busy with all kinds of other things. He was a dentist, so he had all kinds of
sure.
pharmacological and dental and medical and things to read, and that's heavy stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, so, but yeah. Um, so
My question is always, to authors, like, do you rather them purchase a book, or would you rather them read the book and give a review? Which one is more important to you? And I usually ask that of all authors. So what
yeah,
is it?
that's a toughie. I mean, purchasing it is good, but I really need reviews too. I need
Hmm.
both. I
Hmm.
need the purchasing because, well, because I'm kind of in business and that's the way I keep going. Plus, that's how I know what's good and that I'm doing a good job because you put money down. People don't
Hmm.
put money down; they don't care, clearly. Um, but if nobody, if you like the book, please notice I've qualified that. If you like the book and you don't tell anybody, then nobody else is ever going to know. And then I need word of mouth just as much as I need the sales.
Hmm.
It's two pronged, clearly.
Hmm.
So that's really trying to, you know, pick, which child is my favorite child. You can't do that.
Yeah,
Can't do
I
that any more than
agree.
I can pick which book is my favorite book. Don't ask me that question. I can't answer that question.
I wasn't going to ask that one.
Okay, good. Because I can't answer that one.
um, I'm curious about the one series you have that is about comic books from
Oh, the chronology,
1940
yes.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about the nonfiction about superheroes, comic book superheroes, and where they come from, and what the history is of these things, and what was being published. And so, because I happen to love history, and because I also am a comic book nerd, self describes comic book nerd, well, because I was raised on those from the '60s, and I rediscovered it during college because as an English major, I read a lot all kinds of stuff. And every so often you have to clear your head. And the easiest way to do that, I found, I need to bring out the issue of whatever comic book I have current I bought recently, look at that for a little bit because that's mindless. Clears my head. Then I can go back and read three more chapters of Dickens or whatever it is. Um, well, Dickens is particularly dense in places uh, because he didn't write in a straightforward manner
Mm-mm.
um, the way we do now. But that was the style of the time, um, unfortunately. Anyway, so right, so during COVID, when my creative juices were really like shut down because I couldn't do anything, I couldn't go and meet people. Oh, because what I found out about myself was all these events that I do feed my creative juices. Okay,
Mhm.
it reminds me of the line from Robin Williams where, you know, when he used to do stand up, when he got feedback from the audience, it kept him going, and he would do more stuff. And he can go off on whole, and I'm sure you've seen this. He goes on whole riffs if the audience is going with him because he's having a blast, and his mind he's just having a mental high. Whereas if the room is not getting it, and it's a really tough room, as they say,
Mhm.
then it's like, oh, he has to backtrack. He has to, figure out and he's far more subdued. And so during COVID, I was very subdued. And I said, well, it's like I said, nonfiction was bred into me from years of writing software instructions. I said, all right, let me see if I can, get back to writing and write something. And this is what popped out of me is I started putting together a history of comic books. Where did they come from? How do they get started? How far back do you have to go? Which surprised me. I learned some things there. And then moving forward in time, I'm going, okay, the comic books of the 30s are not like the comic books now. They're not even like the comic books I bought in the 80s when I used to buy them avidly. And I'm going, and the industry has changed over time. It's in the last 40 years, it's been updated, not updated, it's been buffeted by technology changes, clearly, and market changes. Um, and they found ways to keep going, but what didn't, and then so I said, well, this all fascinates me. And as a student of even popular culture, which I am, I said, okay, maybe some other people would like to know this. I found out that was probably an optim. I found out that that's probably an optimistic um, assessment. There are going to be some people who will enjoy it because they are into popular culture or um, comic books or superheroes or whatever, but the vast majority of people. Um, the other reason I was doing it is because at the time, uh, prior to COVID, I was doing a lot of comic book conventions with other folks, and I said I don't really have anything targeted to the people who are really attend the core demographic that are attending the comic book conventions, which I know what that is because I used to be one of them and attend them. And I thought these books might speak to them. And of course, no sooner did I have some of those, then I stopped doing those conventions because it became cost prohibitive to do that. So I have the books. I have copies for myself because I use them when I have a question about this or that hero or did I cover this before or not. But by and large, they're only available on sale online. Um, and to my great surprise, I've sold some of them to somebody over in Germany somewhere, um, which keeps me going. Let me think. I think I have eight volumes out. The ninth one I finished earlier this year. I'm working on the 10th, which should get me into the mid 80s somewhere. And so I still have a long way to go.
Do you think you'll ever write a comic book for yourself? Maybe have your wife illustrate it?
Well, I may not need my wife anymore. There's software these days. I'm seeing this now. There's all kinds of software where you can use that. I've looked at writing a comic book script. I really have, and said no. The closest I'm probably going to get is the novella that I started.
Hmm.
Originally, getting to that point was really hard. I had a lot of false starts because my first thought was to do a story that I would just write the way I would normally write it, but present it like a comic book. And I showed that to an artist that I knew, and he said, "Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that." So I said, "Fine." So then um, I went back to something more standard, um, and finally found a story that I think holds water, based on stories from the 30s. Um, and that got me where I am now. Um, the novella has sold some copies, but I know in one case the woman who bought it, she bought it as a gift and hasn't cracked the book. And the other copy that I know of was bought last year at an event in Plymouth, And I have not seen that person since, and I've not seen any reviews, so I don't know if he liked it or didn't. Again, this gets back to I could really use a review guy if you wanna. So I don't know if it's worth writing the sequel that I have or not. So I'm gonna have to wait for more people to who read this sort of stuff to come find me and spend some money and tell me what they think, because I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent, good, bad, ugly, whatever. Um, the second one's a little different because I took now that I really like knew the characters from the first one, I introduced a few more, and it's set in the 30s. So I said, okay, what issues can I raise? And so I picked. So one of the new characters is a black man. So I said, okay, there's racial issues right there. There you go, because there were still racial tensions in the 30s. Even though there's a war in Europe, there's racial tensions here. And then um, um, the use of drugs, in particular opium, which I've read about during the Victorian age, was still quite prevalent. It didn't go away just because, people stopped mentioning it. Um,
Hmm.
um, uh, and so I said those are two good real things I can like write about, while I'm also telling stories about these superhero, these meta-human kind of characters who are caught in. Um, and then the third thing I decided to do was I took one of the characters, um, and just developed more of his background and history and so on, so that you learn about him. I give some plots to another one. You introduce a new character. You learn about him. They're dealing with all kinds of issues. Great, and they're fighting the arch villain who escaped from the first book. Okay, great. Has many of the elements that you'd like to see in a superhero story. And conclude. And finally wrapped it up. At some when I finally reached a good place to stop and said, I have to get onto other fantasy stories, so I'm going to stop here. I got the right length for a novella. There it is. It's done. Okay, fine. Let's see what happens with if I can get an audience for this thing, and then if I do, then I have a second one, and if I don't, well, it'll sit there. It's not going to hurt anybody sitting there. So
Um, Sorry, I have a cold. Sorry. Um, Now, what would be the strangest place that you've gotten an idea for a book? Usually Jack asks these kinds of questions.
that's a really interesting one. Um, hmm, that's a really interesting one. I've been to some old bookstores that gave me the creeps that I think I put into my fantasy series.
Hmm.
They turned into magic shops, but nobody was going to know that because both um, the bookstores and the magic shop all have old creaking wood floors, and weird have a weird vibe, and it's dusty and musty and all. So that's all common. Um, there are certainly scenes that still sit in the back of my head that probably will show up at some point, because I went to a writers' conference for a job out in Dallas years ago, and I um, got the cheapest room I could find, only because the company was a small software company, and they weren't going to put me up at the Hilton. Okay, fine. Okay, it was near the convention, so that I could walk to it, so I didn't need to rent a car. But it wasn't a very luxurious place, and the uh, area around it uh, was kind of creepy. I think what I didn't like was it was so flat, because like I'm from New England, and so I didn't see a lot of trees. I'm used to seeing a lot of trees. There was a lot of it was pretty flat there. Not a lot of trees at all. The news reports on the TV the night before were all about murders and killings in the main city, which I could see from where I was. It was just on the road and a ways, but you could see it. And I'm going, I'm kind of close, but I'm not in the city proper. And so, um, and that sort of sticks in my head. I mean, I was never, I don't know that I will actually use that for anything anywhere. Um, but it sits there. Um, and I've been to a couple of restaurants that have given me nightmares because of some of the decor. Yikes. That may actually show up into some of my weirder stories, those bizarre tales I told you about. Um, there may actually be a couple of descriptions in there um, that owe their birth from some weird places I've been. That was a blind date, I think that time, and the woman wanted to go there, and I said, "Okay, fine." I'd never been, and when I went, it was like, "Yikes!" I told a friend of mine about going to the place because apparently that restaurant is franchised in various places, and he went to a different one and liked it. And I said, and he suggested we go there once. I said, no, I'm not going back there. You can't get me to go back there. And he said, why? And I told him the story, and I'm going, yeah, yeah. African tribal masks on the wall that were backlit were a bit much.
Yeah,
Kind of,
definitely.
kind of spooky. I think that's the one that threw me. Yeah.
I could think of a story with that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm sure you could. My gift to you.
Thank
I won't even ask for credit.
you. Um, what are you working on this year that's going to come out?
Um, okay, well, this year so far, I have a new collection of poetry. So I just did that. I did that. Um, later this year, the more books in the chronology are probably coming out. What I find is that if I put them out just before the holidays, that I might find that there are one or two of them might actually sell during that period because that's when apparently the guy who likes them buys them. Because suddenly I see a sale or two pop into my Amazon report, and I'm going, oh, look at that. Um, so those are coming. So I have at least one, I have one in the can, and I hopefully will finish the another one. Because two of those would be better than one of those if he's going to buy again. Um, the fantasy romance that I'm working on that is now over half done, and I'm trying to figure out what the other half is going to be. I was just thinking about that last night. Hopefully, let's see, this is April. Hopefully, we'll be finished by June or July, maybe. I don't know. It depends on how hard, how many teeth I have to pull to get it written. Um, once that's done, that's likely to go out. Um, that's likely to go. We'll see. We'll see. I'll see how sales are on the first one. That will be but it will be there. So if and this is a an editorial note for your listeners. If any of these sound interesting and you want to see more, you wanna get me some sales before I finish so that I know what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Sorry, that was a shameless plug.
No, it's okay.
Um, and then the other fantasy novel I'm working on is probably definitely going out because I'm really excited about this one. It's it has a really strange origin. Um, I've written about these characters in short stories um, several times without actually meaning to write about those characters per se. I just needed something because in one case, in one of my weird stories, it was the writer. The main character is a writer who is struggling to figure out how to write something that will get published. Okay, and so he's writing about his wizard character called Burlap. I just made up a name. I called him Burlap. Okay, and that story is about the fact that he finds a magic pen that gives him the ability to do what he needs to do, and then when his wife says you need to stop doing that, the pen doesn't like it, and then it gets nasty after that. Yeah, that's why it's in that collection of stories. Okay, and then and then I and then I reused Burlap in a different story with a bunch of other fantasy characters based on an experience I had because I suffered from retinal detachments in 24. Okay. Um, had the surgery. I'm all better. Don't. Okay. It's all good. It's all good. But first the one eye went, then the other eye went, and what you see when that happens is really weird. Okay, because suddenly you have dead zones in your vision, which I'm not used to. And I told this to another writer friend of mine, and he said he got this idea that, oh, you could use that and have that dead zone be something that takes you into this and something spooky and bizarre and awful. And I'm going, no, I'm not going to write horror. Sorry. If you want to, yeah, and that's the other thing. If you want a genre that I probably will never write, that horror would be the other one in that list because I just can't. I don't like to be scared. I've written things that
Okay.
are, I've written things that are sort of like that, but aren't.
Hmm.
Okay. Which is why when I was part of a writers group that was specializing in horror, they would never take my stories into their anthologies. I just can't do it. Even though I have a couple of stories that, fit their theme at the time. They just said, no, there were other stories that were better. I was like, okay, fine. I'm not going to argue. But everything I write, at some point, once I think I'm done with it, goes out to be published. All that stuff's out available. So people want to take a look, they can. It's all out there. But what happened was I took my friend's idea. Um, I think it was last year. Uh, he had a good idea, but not the way he had it. And so the writer character from yet a different story by the name of Tom um, has this weird experience with his vision because he too had retinal detachments. Okay, and
There you go.
this is a side effect of the retinal detachment. But instead, what he sees is he gets sucked into this alternate fantasy world that's real, that's really real. And so I had needed a bunch of characters to populate the world. And I loved that story so much when I wrote it that I took all of those characters and said, okay, I'm writing stories based on those characters. Okay, because Tom, for me, in a different story, was this successful fantasy writer. I was doing some wish fulfillment when I wrote that story. That's this other story. Was a successful fantasy author who had a very successful fantasy book franchise that you went on for him to make movies and do speaking engagements and all the things that really successful writers get. Right. I said Tom got all that. Okay. But clearly that was wish fulfillment because none of that's ever happened to me. um, so I said, okay, let's find out what he was. I posed the question to myself, and I said, what was he actually? What he's actually he been writing? And I come up with because I already had the characters. I said, you know what? I think I have a good story here, and so I started to write it. And so that's going to be a series of novels, hopefully. Um, and those are probably all going out because I'm really excited about when I get this excited about something. Oh my god, it doesn't happen very often because I've been doing this a while. But this one I'm really excited about. I'm going, yeah, I want to see where this goes because I've already made up a bunch of stuff. I've only written about I think I'm not haven't even written 10,000 words yet, and I've already made up a bunch of stuff. And I'm going, okay, this is really good. Every Monday through Friday, I'm writing another chapter. I'm going, hey, here we go. Um, and then I'm going over to my fantasy romance and going, okay, what else do I have to do over here? And that's my life for the moment and they're both going to keep until one of them, finishes, and then either nothing takes the place of I pick up another project, or I'm solely on the one project until that's done, which will make it go a lot faster. Um, Beyond that, I don't know if I will have anything else out because I think that might fill my plate for a while. I have other ideas somewhere back there, but I really haven't coaxed them forward because I got my hands full.
You sound like
When I
it.
had when I had the superhero thing, well, at the beginning of the year, I had the I knew was going to have the poetry. I had the superhero thing. I knew I was going to do the fantasy romance thing. Then I got the other idea that I was just talking about. Going, this is a lot. I need to get rid of some stuff. So I got the poetry out. I got the finished superhero thing finished enough that I can put it away. Thank you. It's done. I don't need to do the production work until I know I need to absolutely do that because people are looking for more stuff to read. That's fine. So now I'm down to two. That's great. That could finish. That could fill out the rest of the year or not. I will have to see how that goes. Um, Plus, I have events coming later in the year that I already know about that will take time away from writing. Um,
I was going to ask you about that. Uh,
yes.
where are you going to be? Where can everybody find you if you're going to
Okay.
events
Well,
this year?
here in Massachusetts, since I'm outside of Boston, I have books on consignment in two Barnes and Noble stores. One is in Hingham, which is south of Boston, and one is in Walpole, which is also south of Boston, but a little more westerly. I'm trying to see if other stores in the area will also take my books on consignment.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm doing an event in both of those stores. One's in June and one's in July. Um, I just talked to somebody up in Gloucester who wants to have some of my books in his store, even though he doesn't sell books. He sells jewelry. I said, okay, that's going to be an eclectic little store. Gloucester, however, is an hour and a half from here, so it's a bit of a schlep for me. But we're going to talk, hopefully, maybe even after this, after you and I finish talking, and we're going to talk more about how that works. I'm probably going to go up there because if I'm going to deliver to him, if I'm going to deliver books for him to sell, um, and drive that long, I'm going to stay there for a bit. And he thinks that I could have regular events there, maybe reading poetry or reading excerpts from my novels or something. We don't know yet. That might start to attract an audience. Since he's opening a new store, that's sort of like having a startup company. I know what that's like. I've been at one. He's going to hustle a lot, and it will either take off or it won't. And I don't know which. So if it takes off, that's great. Then maybe there's an audience will form, and I have another outlet. But for those of you who aren't anywhere near me, and that's a good portion probably of your listening audience, I'm guessing, I have a website, um, which is my last name, Feitelberg.net. Um, and that will give you descriptions of everything I write on the homepage, all the different categories. And then as you go in, you'll see all the different books, links to all the different books. Like I said, I'm starting to put my ebooks up now in my own store because that's a simple matter of a download. Okay, no shipping of books for the paper books. I'm afraid you're going to have to go to some place like Amazon, um, because somebody has to print them and ship them, and I can't do that.
Hmm.
And because of recent changes in the market, currently the only place that left that I have at the moment is Amazon. Even though, and I say that because I know some people don't like to do business with Amazon. I'm sorry. I'm working on finding other solutions to that problem, but since I just got the bad news about um, my other distributor, whose name I shall not mention at this time, um, I basically had to drop them before they came looking for money for money out of me, which I don't have to give them, um, which is unfortunate because I really liked having. One of the places they were distributing was bookshop.org. Recently, they added that, and that looked like a really good venue. But since I haven't gotten any sales from any of those places. It wasn't worth staying. It's unfortunate, but that's the just the gross reality of what's going on these days. Maybe it will change when we're not longer at war with other countries and gas prices come down again and a bunch of other things happen. I don't know. No, I have no idea. I'm just a little boat on the ocean being buffeted by all kinds of bad winds and high waves and trying not to capsize.
I understand that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a metaphor. I just made that up.
mm, I have a few private shops that take indie authors in their
Oh,
books. So
okay.
I will get with you and send you who they are so that you can get your books out there.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I would appreciate that. I think we're connected on social media. I think so. I think you
Yeah.
friended me.
Yeah.
I think I saw that. So yeah, you can just message me And that'd be awesome. I'd greatly appreciate that. And I will.
Also,
Um,
my other thing with my group, reading between the spines.
yeah.
Um, we're doing author spotlights and some other things. I also have an author directory
Hmm.
that mentions everybody. Also, we have a directory for anybody that is in need for, like, say, a narrator or an illustrator. That the person, there'll be a list, and newbie authors or anybody can go and say, "Hey, I need a narrator," and they'll look at the list and say, I could trust this because it's been vetted and
Okay.
they're not spam or anything."
Right.
So I have all that going on through.
That may be useful to me down the road because um, one of the other things I just released was an audiobook.
Yeah.
But what I do for audiobooks is I use ACX and I use their network of people. I tried to use a friend of mine who's in the audio field, who I
Mm,
know, but he's so busy. I
yeah.
talked to him last year, and we put together a plan, and he totally dropped the ball on that. And he basically had to. And when I asked him about it at the beginning of this year, because he was supposed to have a sample for me by the end of 25,
Mhm.
he basically said he's too busy, he can't do it. I said, okay, fine, thank you. At least you told me up front. I'll go find
Yeah.
somebody else. So then
Yeah.
I had to start over, and then I auditioned a bunch of people. If I can get somebody who I know is going to work out, that's great.
Mhm.
That'll make my job a little easier. Even though I've now found two good narrators through ACX, whose voices I like. Um, doesn't mean I have to stick with any one of them. I'm just doing the my some of my short story collections as audiobooks for now.
Mhm.
I had done the first book of my fantasy series years ago, which was a mistake because the title of the book has changed, and now the audiobook I can't get updates to because he disappeared on me.
Oh
Blah blah
my.
blah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo all of that at some point, but I'm gonna have to wait for everything to be, really in stone before I
Mhm.
do the fantasy series. And for that, I'm going to want somebody really solid and really good because that person is going to have to do all of it. And it's a long story, 8 novels in its original paper form, thousands and thousands of words. And you have to be able to read what I have written, which I find sometimes people are not doing. Oh, that drives me nuts. Don't improvise, please. Thank you.
Uh, Jack is the one that does all the audiobook reviews,
Oh,
um, because he has a hard time seeing. So
okay.
he does audio. Like, he'll go through an audiobook in a day.
Sure.
But yeah, so, and I he's the one that would tell you right now about the narrators. But I can't remember right now, but I know we have a few of them.
Okay.
So
Well, um, send me links and I'll take a look. And if I have
yeah,
questions, I can talk to you and then you can talk to him or he can talk to me or something.
yeah.
And it'll be a little triangle. That's fine.
All right. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
I'll close with where you can find me, which would be robinsreview.info, and Reading Between the Spines and the Spine Collective. Where could everybody find you on social media and website and everything?
Okay, well, my website, as I said, was feitelberg.net.
Hmm.
There are links on the About Me page that go to social media, but um, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Um, Instagram is just my first and last name smushed together, Rich Feitelberg.
Mm,
Um, I think if you put a space in there on Facebook, you can find me. Plus, I have a fan page on there, which is Rich Feitelberg's fan page, which I started back when my fantasy series was first coming out because I was thinking that that's where I would talk about my fantasy series. Um, And it turns out I'm almost never on that page because and some of my friends didn't make the leap. I wanted everybody to make the leap, and some people just wouldn't do it. So particularly
Mhm.
some family members, and I said, now I got these. I got a mess. I got people divided. I'm going, that's no good. So sometimes I have to remember when I post about whatever that I have to post in both places.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing. They make it easy for you to do that.
Hmm.
I'm also on Threads, if you want to chat. But if you friend me on Facebook or something, there's Messenger if you want to talk and reach out to me about stuff. I would love to talk to fans. I always like to talk to fans. Or if you see something that you're on my website, but for example, a book you want to buy in paper, but you really don't want to buy from Amazon, but that's my only option for the moment, and you want me to send you something directly, I can certainly do that. Or you want a signed copy, I can do that. My email is also on my website. As I said, okay. You can chat me up on various locations, and we can figure that out. That happened during COVID. The people who had been buying my series up to that point when the last book came out, which was just before COVID hit, then they wanted the final book in the series because to find out how the hell this comes out, and they wanted it signed besides because I had signed all the others.
Yep.
They hit me up. They pay me through PayPal, and I send out books. Not a lot, but
Hmm.
I can do the occasional book for people if that's what it takes, because I'm all about making sure the reader has what he or she wants, and I'm here to entertain you. So I can't do
That's
that
the
if
truth.
I'm sitting on my book.
Hmm.
So I'm
Definitely.
more than willing to do that too.
All right. Well, thank you for coming, and we'll